I want you to close your eyes for a second. We're going to do a little visualization.
Oh, okay.
Picture a city street at night, but not just any night. It's just finished raining, a heavy, soaking downpour. The asphalt is slick, black, reflective, like a dark mirror, and tearing down that wet street is a bright red sports car.
Okay, I'm there. I can see the reflection.
You can see it, right? The street lights streaking across the hood, the neon signs reflecting in the puddles.
Yeah.
It is electric. It is vibrant.
Yeah.
Now open your eyes. Here's the problem. You have a canvas, and you have some tubes of paint. How do you capture that?
Right.
How do you paint neon glow or wet metal without actually using metallic paint or some, digital special effect? Because when I look at a scene like that, my brain says, you need neon paint.
Yeah.
You need glitter. You need magic.
That is the question, isn't it? That is the holy grail of realism. It's the difference between a painting that looks like a red car and a painting that feels like it's speeding past you at 100 miles per hour. It's about energy.
Exactly. And today we are doing a deep dive into the studio of Rodolfo Im, the grand artist behind GRUPO RAIIM. We're looking at his specific method for painting this exact scene, a red sports car at night.
And I have to say, looking at the source material, I was honestly confused. I thought I was missing a page of the notes.
Confused? Why?
Because if I want to paint a bright red car, I assume step one is buy the brightest, most expensive red paint money can buy.
Sure, that makes sense.
But Rodolfo Im, he barely touches the red paint until the very end. It feels like he's avoiding the color red for 90% of the process.
That's the twist. And that's exactly why we're talking about him today. What Rodolfo Im teaches here isn't just how to paint a car, it's a lesson in physics.
Oh, interesting.
It's about constructing light. And to do that, you have to do things that feel completely counterintuitive. As the maestro shows us, sometimes you have to start with mud to end up with light.
Start with mud to end up with light. That sounds like a philosophy for life, not just art.
It kind of is. But let's back up to the very beginning. Because usually when I think of starting a painting, I think of a stark white canvas. Clean, pristine, ready for anything. But Rodolfo Im says, absolutely not.
Right. If you follow the Rodolfo Im method, the white canvas is actually your enemy. It's an obstacle.
So what does he do? Does he start with black? Because it's a night scene?
You would think so, but no. He starts with a very specific surface. He mentions a 20 by 40 centimeter Phoenix Bastidors canvas. But the first thing he does before he even picks up a pencil to sketch the car is destroy that white.
Ow.
He covers the entire thing, every square inch, in Naples yellow.
Naples yellow.
Amarillo de Nápoles. It's this creamy, warm, opaque yellow. He takes a sponge or a big brush and just slathers it on.
Okay, hold on. I have to stop you there. We are painting a night scene. Dark streets, shadows, rain. Why on earth are we starting with a bright, creamy yellow base? Wouldn't that ruin the darkness? It feels like wearing a neon vest to a funeral. It just doesn't fit the mood.
It feels wrong, doesn't it? It feels like you're sabotaging the night scene before you even begin. But this is the first stroke of genius in the method, and it's something rooted deep in art history. It's called the imprimatura.
Imprimatura.
It's an old Italian term. And in the context of GRUPO RAIIM, it serves two critical functions. One is mechanical, purely practical, and one is artistic.
Okay.
Let's look at the mechanical side first. Have you ever tried to draw on raw canvas?
I have. It's rough. The pencil catches on the weave. It feels scratchy.
Exactly. It's porous. It's thirsty. The canvas wants to drink up whatever you put on it. If you draw on raw canvas and make a mistake, good luck erasing it.
Oh, yeah, it's a nightmare.
The graphite gets ground into the fibers. It smears. It's a mess.
Right, it's unforgiving.
But by applying this layer of acrylic Naples yellow, Rodolfo Im is effectively sealing the surface. He's creating a non-porous skin. It smooths out the texture. He says specifically that when you eventually start painting, the brush runs much better. Corren muchísimo mejor. It glides like it's on glass.
So it turns the canvas into something more like paper or a smooth wall.
Closer to a smooth wall. And here's the kicker. If you sketch your car on top of this dry yellow paint and you mess up the curve of the fender, you can erase it cleanly.
Right.
The graphite lifts right off the paint because it hasn't sunk into the fabric.
Okay, that's just practical. That saves you a headache. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
But you said there was an artistic reason, too. Why yellow? If he just wanted to seal it, he could use clear gesso or gray paint. Why this specific creamy yellow?
Because of the temperature. This is where we start getting into the optics.
Okay.
Rodolfo Im explains that this yellow acts as a subterranean layer of warmth.
Subterranean warmth. I like that image.
Think about a city at night. Even in the dark, there's energy. There's heat from the engines. There's the hum of streetlights. There's the glow from apartment windows. If you start with a cold white background, the painting can feel dead. It feels sterile, like a vacuum. But by burying this Naples yellow underneath everything, even your darkest shadows have a tiny, microscopic vibration of warmth coming through.
It's like the bass line in a song. You might not hear it explicitly, but the whole track would feel thin if it wasn't there.
Perfectly put. It unifies the entire image. It ensures that the painting hums on the same frequency. So you have your yellow wall, it's dry, you've sketched your Ferrari or your Porsche on top of it.
Right.
Now, surely you're itching to grab the red paint.
I am. It's a red car. I want to see the color.
And this is where the grand artist would gently take the brush out of your hand and say, no.
Denied again.
Denied. We are entering the phase called the grisaille.
Grisaille, that sounds French.
It is. It comes from gris, meaning gray. It basically means painting in monochrome.
Okay.
This is the second major shock of the method. Rodolfo Im stops us from thinking about color entirely. He wants us to build the entire 3D structure of the car using only earth tones.
So, let me get this straight. We are painting a red Ferrari. Brown.
Temporarily, yes. We are ignoring the hue and focusing entirely on the value.
Help me out with the distinction there. Value versus hue.
Hue is what color is it? Red, blue, green. Value is how light or dark is it?
Got it.
Is it a deep shadow or a bright highlight? Rodolfo Im is separating these two problems. He says essentially, don't try to solve the algebra and the geometry at the same time.
That's actually really smart, because if I'm trying to mix the perfect shadowy red on my palette, I'm fighting two battles. I'm trying to get the redness right, and I'm trying to get the darkness right, and usually I end up with pink mud.
Exactly, and usually you fail at both. So here, we solve the volume first. We treat the car like a sculpture.
Right.
We need to decide where the curves are, where the deep shadows under the wheel wells are, where the light hits the roof, and we do it using a very restricted palette.
What's on the menu?
It's very specific. He uses burnt sienna tostada, which is a warm reddish brown. He dilutes that to map out the soft shadows. Then, for the really dark bits, the undercarriage, the vents, he uses raw umber or sombre natural.
Okay, so we have light brown and dark brown.
And then, for the lights, where the street lamps will eventually hit, he uses a warm white, blanco cálido.
Warm white. Why not just white?
No, and that distinction is crucial. Warm white is soft, it's creamy, it blends with the burnt sienna.
I see.
If you used a cold, stark white here, it would look chalky. It would look like snow on the car. We want it to look like the car is made of maybe bronze or chocolate.
So at the end of this stage, we have a painting that looks like an old sepia photograph. It's fully 3D, it looks solid, but it's completely the wrong color.
Correct. The heavy lifting is done, the architecture is built.
Okay.
But it looks like a statue, not a sports car. And this is the moment where most people would panic. They'd look at this brown smudge on a yellow background and think, I ruined it. This is supposed to be neon red.
It requires a lot of trust. You have to believe that the red is coming.
You have to trust the veladuras.
Veladuras. Now, I know this translates to glazes, but in the context of high-end art, and specifically what GRUPO RAIIM is teaching, what is a glaze exactly? Because when I think glaze, I think donuts.
Similar concept, actually. Think of a donut. You can see the dough through the sugar glaze, right? In painting, a veladura is a transparent layer of paint. It's not like the opaque paint you use on a wall that covers up what's underneath.
Right.
A glaze is designed to let light pass through it. Think of it like a colored lens or a piece of stained glass.
Okay, so we're going to tint the brown car we just painted.
We are tinting it, but we are also doing something much more interesting with the physics of light. The grand artist explains this beautifully.
Okay.
When you look at a wall painted with normal opaque red paint, the light hits the surface and bounces off. Bam! It stops there. It looks flat. It looks like paint.
Right.
But with a glaze, imagine you put a sheet of red glass over a white table. The light goes through the red glass, hits the white table, bounces off the table, travels back through the red glass, and then hits your eye.
Oh, wow. So the light is literally traveling through the paint twice. It's making a round trip.
Exactly. It illuminates the color from behind. That is why a glazed painting looks like it's glowing. It's the difference between looking at a color and looking into a color.
That's the electric look. That's how you get that neon vibe without neon paint. They're trapping the light inside the layers.
Precisely. But here is where Rodolfo Im creates the magic. He doesn't just slap a red glaze on top and call it a day. He has a recipe, a specific sequence.
What's the recipe?
Layer 1, golden yellow. Amarillo Dorado.
More yellow. We already did the whole canvas in yellow. Are we obsessed with yellow?
We did the background in opaque Naples yellow, but this is a glaze, a transparent glaze. He glazes the entire car body with this transparent golden yellow.
Okay.
It warms up that brown grisaille. It makes the bronze look like gold.
Okay. So now we have a gold car.
Then, and only then, does he apply the red. He uses cadmium red rojo de cadmio as a glaze on top of the yellow.
Why the double layer? Why not just put the red over the brown?
Because of the physics of color interaction. If you put red over brown, you get a dark burgundy. It's elegant, but it's dull. It absorbs light.
Right.
But red over gold, that creates fire. Think about a flame. The center is yellow, the outside is red. That underlying yellow pushes the red out towards the eye. It vibrates. It creates an intensity that you literally cannot mix on a palette.
So the grisaille provides the shadow, the yellow glaze provides the heat, and the red glaze provides the color.
It's a symphony. They're all playing at once. And notice, we haven't painted shadows in this phase. The raw umber you painted an hour ago is now shining through the red to create a deep, rich cherry shadow.
Wow.
The warm white you painted is shining through to create a brilliant, glowing orange highlight. You didn't have to mix those colors. They happened optically on the canvas.
That is incredibly cool. It feels almost like developing a photo in a dark room, watching the layers stack up to create the image. It's engineering as much as it is art.
It is very similar,
Yeah.
and it creates a depth that feels wet. Which brings us to the final problem, the texture.
Rain.
The rain. We have a red car, it's 3D, it's glowing, but we need drama. We need that high dynamic range. We need the wet pavement to look slick.
Right. We need those streetlights reflecting off the chrome. The bling.
The bling. The maestro calls this the refinement of extremes. We need to push the contrast range wider than what the canvas naturally offers.
How does he do that?
He uses two specific pigments to stretch the values. First, for the highlights, he switches to titanium white blanco de titanio.
Wait, didn't we already use white in the grisaille?
We used warm white. That was soft, creamy, part of the structure. Titanium white is different. It is cold. It is aggressive.
Wow.
It is the whitest, most opaque white you can get. Rodolfo Im uses this for the specular highlights.
Specular hell.
Those are the tiny blinding dots of light where the reflection is perfect. On the rim of the tire, the corner of the windshield, the wet pavement.
Oh, okay.
These aren't just light areas, they are light sources. By putting this cold, opaque white on top of the warm, transparent glazes, it pierces through. It looks like electricity.
It cuts through the warmth. It tells the eye, this is shiny.
Exactly. And then he does the opposite for the shadows. He uses Payne's Gray Gris de Payne.
Now, I've heard of Payne's Gray. It's a staple in watercolor and acrylics. But again, why not just use black? If it's nighttime, surely black is the answer.
You would think so, but in this level of art, specifically in the academic approach GRUPO RAIIM uses, pure black is often considered a whole.
A whole.
If you put black on the canvas, it looks like nothingness. It flattens the image. It stops the eye.
Okay, so black is a dead end.
Rodolfo Im explains that Payne's Gray is actually a very dark blue-gray. It has a violet tint to it.
Ah, so it has color in it. It's not just an absence of light.
It creates a chromatic shadow. Night isn't black. Night is deep blue, deep purple. It's atmospheric. There's air in the shadows. By using Payne's Gray in thin layers into the deepest crevices, the vents, the shadow under the car, you get darkness, but it's a rich, breathing darkness. It harmonizes with the red car in a way that black never could.
So you're stretching the image. You've got the cold titanium white on one end and the deep violet Payne's Gray on the other and all that glowing red glaze in the middle.
And that is what gives you the wet metal at night look. It's that dynamic range. It feels real because it captures the complexity of light, not just the color of objects.
It sounds perfect.
Yeah.
It sounds foolproof. But, and you know me, I'm always waiting for the catch.
There's always a but.
I feel like there's a trap here.
But
This sounds like a process where if you mess up one step, the house of cards falls down.
you are absolutely right. There is a cardinal sin in the Rodolfo Im method. There is one rule that he repeats constantly in the source material. If you break this rule, the whole painting is ruined.
Yeah.
No going back.
Oh, is it?
Drying times.
Patience.
Patience. But not just patience as a virtue, patience as a technical necessity.
Yeah.
We talked about how the glaze sits on top of the grisaille, right?
The layers.
Imagine this. You've just painted your grisaille. It looks great. You're excited. You want to see it turn red. So while the brown paint is still a little bit tacky, a little bit wet, you come in with your brush full of red glaze.
Okay.
You smear the brown paint into the red paint. You are physically mixing them.
And yet mud.
You get opaque, muddy, brownish orange. The transparency is gone. The inner light is extinguished. The physics of the light bouncing through the layers only works if the layers are separate.
So the layer underneath has to be solid rock before you touch it again.
Bone dry. Rodolfo Im is very clear on this. If you rush, you fail. The separation of layers is the whole trick. You are building a sandwich, not making a smoothie.
It's funny because when you watch a time lapse of a painting on Instagram or YouTube, it looks so fluid. It looks like one continuous motion.
Yeah.
But in reality, this method is stop and go. Paint for an hour, wait for 3 hours, paint, wait.
It is, and that's the discipline. The magic of the glowing car isn't magic hands. It's the discipline of waiting for paint to dry. It's knowing that you cannot rush the chemistry.
That is actually kind of a relief. It takes the mysticism out of it. It's not about being born with a divine gift. It's about following instructions and having self-control.
It does. It empowers the learner. You don't need to be a wizard. You need to be a builder. You need to follow the specs that GRUPO RAIIM lays out.
So let's recap this blueprint, because we've gone from a blank white canvas, which we destroyed, to a masterpiece. Walk me through the steps one last time.
Right. Step 1, the foundation. Naples yellow. We cover the whole thing to unify the temperature and seal the canvas so it's not thirsty.
Step 2, the structure. The grisaille. We ignore color completely and sculpt the car using earth tones, burnt sienna, and raw umber. We solve the physics of the shape.
Step 3, the alchemy. The veladuras. We use transparent glazes. First, golden yellow, then cadmium red to let light bounce off the grisaille, creating that internal fire.
And finally, step 4, the polish. We stretch the contrast with cold titanium white for the sparkles and Payne's gray for the atmospheric shadows.
All held together by the invisible glue of patience.
You know, looking at this method, it changes how I view talent. We see a finished Rodolfo Im piece and think, he's a genius, he just sees the world differently. But really, he has a system. He's following a recipe.
He is a genius, absolutely. But his genius lies in the methodology. He isn't trying to do everything at once. He breaks the complex problem of a sports car at night into 4 manageable problems. Surface, value, color, and contrast.
Right.
And he solves them one by one.
That's the takeaway for me. Solve one problem at a time.
I think that applies to a lot more than just painting.
Oh, totally. Think about writing or coding or even just planning a project at work. How often do we try to apply the color, the flashy stuff, the marketing spin before we've actually built the grisaille, the structure of the core product?
All the time. We want the cadmium red before we've done the raw umber. But Rodolfo Im teaches us that the brightness of the final result depends entirely on the quality of the hidden layers underneath. If your structure is weak, your color will be flat. No amount of expensive red paint can fix a bad drawing.
The pretty stuff needs a skeleton to hang on.
Ideally, yes. And maybe the most provocative thought to leave with is this. In a world that is obsessed with speed, with hacks, with getting to the finish line instantly, maybe the true glossy finish we're all looking for can only be achieved by doing nothing for a while, by just waiting for the layers to dry.
The cardinal sin of rushing. It gets us every time.
It really does. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is put the brush down and walk away.
Well, on that note, I think I'm going to go let my brain dry for a bit and absorb all this.
Yeah.
This has been a fascinating look into the studio of GRUPO RAIIM.
It was a pleasure to break it down.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Go build your grisaille, whatever that is for you. We'll see you on the next deep dive.